How would you even begin building a roof like this? And perhaps more importantly, why? The first answer involves workers delicately balancing a few rafters against one another to create this beautiful conical shape. The second answer is a little more complicated, one that involves coal gas, street lamps, and eventually the story of the Underground Railroad.
You must be Ruth.
I am Ruth.
Nice to meet you. Nice to
Yeah.
meet you. The front door is open and we can bring you right in if you want.
Thank you. Hello.
Those people who have lived in Oberlin for a long time have watched this project languish and then be revitalized. And the people in the community were just overjoyed to come inside because they said, "Thought you'd never finish."
The roundhouse was built in 1889, and though features like the ceiling are beautiful, it was strictly utilitarian.
So it was built by the Oberlin, I have to check, Oberlin Gas Lighting Company because it changes its name later. Gas production was used for lighting and fuel. So this structure was built in the later 1800s and it's called a gasholder, which is literally what it did. Inside there are two structures. There's like the brick exterior. There is another layer beneath that. And when gas is pumped into there, there is a metal bell. So the gas is somewhat sandwiched between the water and the bell. And it keeps it at a constant pressure to feed out of the building. And the structure, you know, it wasn't built to be a storage basement. It was built specifically for that industrial purpose.
After less than 30 years in use, the gasholder building shuttered and has remained vacant for nearly a century. It stands as the last brick structure of its kind west of the Appalachian Mountains and has been listed on the National Register of Historic Places since 1998.
There was this gap of it just being there, and most community members, they kind of lost the memory of what it was for in the first place. Around the 1990s, the owner, he was thinking about that shopping center and what else could go there. There were other community members who spoke up at the time, concerned about this area and weighing in on what they would like to see preserved and what they would like to see happen to it.
Kenny Clark himself told me this. He said he had the bulldozer up to that wall right there, and somebody from the city had came and stopped him and said, possibly talked to him about donating it to the city, and that's when this project really began.
The gasholder building is now being transformed into the Oberlin Underground Railroad Center, a community gathering place and transportation hub that honors Oberlin's deep ties to the anti-slavery movement.
This is my ancestry wall. This is my mom and dad, Steve and Glenna Wall, and these are my grandparents, John and Miriam Wall. And this is the family tree. I didn't remember much about African American history courses when I was in school. It probably was taught, but it wasn't something that was really highlighted or anything that I really paid attention to at the time. But now that I've gotten older and I know more about my family history, it's really changed my perspective on knowing the history of the walls.
In 1858, a group of Oberlin residents and students successfully rescued John Price, a freedom seeker living in Oberlin, from slave catchers in the nearby town of Wellington. Nancy Wall's ancestor, OSB Wall, was among them.
They were told that they weren't supposed to do what they did, and they didn't care. So they went ahead and they helped rescue other people. To know that we have something for the Black community, to share their stories, to share their history, to share what's really important to us in this town means a lot to me. And it's been a long time coming.
There we go. I can pull this all the way out if you want. You can just walk down. All right. A little dusty. Of course, these are original bricks. They're made to admit water, so that was one of the hardest parts. As you see, this is the normal water line right here. Before we started this project, there was about this much water here at all times. And this is the original floor right here. And it was that thin, it was just riveted. something you would see on a boiler or something, you know, just a riveted steel. This was definitely a labor of love for me.
You see that through a lot of the records that, yes, it was a historic building and this is a very important history story to be telling, but it was also about bringing community together, and especially for African American community members, telling their stories, celebrating together, celebrating their accomplishments. So it's not just about the past, but it's what can be done today and leading us into the future.
One of my visions was to have a North Star, you know, up in the rafters, because that's how the slaves moved. They always looked for the North Star. And that's something that people say now, you know, when you want to do something extravagant, you know, look to the North Star.
We call it the Underground Railroad Center, but the history is not so much about slavery. It's all about progress. You know, when we had streetlights that were lit by gas, that's a part of what happened because of this building. So Oberlin has so many historic things here, and anybody who's coming in here, I want them to feel welcome and to know this is a part of Oberlin's history.